The first home savings account, or the FHSA, which for some reason is a tongue twister for me, is finally here. And this is by far the best product the federal government has ever released with respect to saving money for your first home. It is the perfect combination of the TFSA and the RRSP. It gives you the benefits of the TFSA, which is the untaxed growth of your investments, and the ability to withdraw without having to pay it back over a 15-year period like the RSP requires when you take advantage of the first-time homebuyer plan. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all the important things you need to know about the FHSA, including how to set it up, where I'd recommend that you set it up, and how to set up a low volatility account so that you don't have to worry about losing a whole bunch of money in that year that you're going to buy a home. These are the exact tools that I use currently in my TFSA, and I'm going to show you how you can apply them to your FHSA. But before we get into it, my name is Nolan Matthias, and if you want to thrive financially, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and turn on your notification bell because there's going to be more videos coming down the road about the FHSA and how to ultimately utilize it. Oh, and one other thing, obviously, if you're watching this video, you're probably going to be in the market for a new home at some point in the next little while. So I've opened up a backdoor to my homebuyer masterclass, which teaches you everything about how to buy a home, which obviously for a first-time homebuyer is really important. So it teaches you how to compare renting versus buying. It teaches you how to select a realtor, how to select a mortgage broker, how to make sure that you aren't stepping on any landmines in the process, and how to save for a down payment, which obviously applies to the first home savings account. Oh, and of course, it's got my favorite chapter, which teaches you how to analyze your market in order to determine if it is the right time to buy. So if you want to check out that course, go to the link in the description below. And like I said, it's a backdoor only for those who are watching this video. Okay, so let's discuss the first home savings account. This is, like I said, by far one of the best products the federal government has ever released. It allows you to contribute up to $8,000 per year, up to a total of $40,000. And the $8,000 contributions are tax deductible. So essentially, you can make these contributions, have them grow tax-free, so the growth on the money that you invest is tax-free. And when you go to buy a home, you can withdraw the funds, use them for a down payment, and you've got no obligations after that. Unlike the RSP's first-time homebuyer plan, where once you pull the money out, you have to pay it back over a 15-year period, or basically recontribute back to your RSP. So this product allows you to have a whole bunch of options and a whole bunch of flexibility, including what you do with your money after you've purchased a home. And by the way, if you've already made RSP contributions, you can transfer up to $8,000 per year to your first home savings account and use that as your contribution, which is amazing, but I'll talk more about how to do that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about who qualifies for an FHSA. So in order to qualify, you have to be 18 years of age. You have to be a resident of Canada, and you have to be a first-time homebuyer. Now, the first two things are pretty obvious. The third one is a little bit more complicated, so let's delve into that real quick, because there are some people who have owned a home previously who do qualify as first-time homebuyers, and there's some people who haven't owned a home previously who don't qualify as first-time homebuyers. So for the purposes of opening an FHSA, and note that this is different than from withdrawing from an FHSA because there are some allowances with respect to relationship breakdowns, which if you find yourself in that situation 3 or 4 years down the road, go to canada.ca and look up the information on it. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but for the purposes of opening an FHSA, you'll be considered a first-time homebuyer if at any time in the calendar year before the account is opened, or at any time in the preceding 4 calendar years, you do not live in a qualifying home, or what would be a qualifying home if located in Canada, as your principal place of residence that either you jointly owned or your spouse or common law partner at the time the account is open, owned or jointly owned. So basically, if you've never owned a home, or if you haven't owned a home or jointly owned a home in the last 4 years, you can open an FHSA. Now, with respect to opening an FHSA, you can do this at any financial institution that you want. You can do it at the bank that you bank with. You can do it with the investment side of the bank you bank with. But I'm going to recommend that you open it with an investing company like Questrade or Wealthsimple. Now, I personally use Questrade. I like the way it sets up, and I like the way that it integrates with a product called Passive, which is separate from Questrade, but which you get for free if you're a Questrade user. So I'm going to put links in the description below for both Passive and for Questrade. And the reason why I'm doing that is, one, because I get a little bit of an affiliate commission from them, albeit a small one, but primarily because you get $50 in free trades if you use the affiliate links below. Now, obviously, when you're building out your account, if you're building it with ETFs, you don't have to pay fees on your ETFs when buying them, which is very, very important because what you want to do is you want to start making contributions and do what's called dollar cost averaging, which means you want to be building your portfolio every time you make a contribution without having to worry about the fees to purchase ETFs. Now, the benefit of the $50 in free trades comes when you actually go to liquidate those investments and you get to sell them for free as well. And what you want to do is you want to set up a low volatility portfolio. Now, at the end of this video, I'll link to another one that describes exactly how to do that. But the gist of it is you want to have a balanced portfolio that has low volatility. So in other words, you want to limit the drawdowns when the stock market falls, because if the stock market falls in the year that you want to buy the home and you haven't taken steps to minimize that damage before it happens, well, a lot of your down payment could disappear. So you want to do everything you can to prevent that. So what I've done in my portfolio, now obviously this isn't a first home savings account portfolio, but it's my TFSA portfolio, is I've set up the Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio, albeit I've done it with Canadian ETFs. And the reason I use this portfolio is when the stock market goes down, this portfolio tends to not go down as much. And with passive, all I do is I go in, I set up the portfolio. Passive will show you exactly how to do that, as will the video that I link at the end. And every time I make a contribution, all I have to do is go in and click one button and it tells me exactly which trades to make. I review them, click another button and say buy now, and it takes care of everything for me. And what it does is it makes sure that the portfolio always stays balanced. And what happens is when you have a portfolio like this, the returns aren't necessarily as good, although they're close, but the amount that the portfolio dips when there's a dip in the stock market goes down substantially. So for example, the max drawdown on this portfolio is 21%, compared to 50% in 2009 when the US stock market crashed. So if I wanted to purchase a house in 2009, having a portfolio that's set up with low volatility, like the one that passive allows me to set up, would have prevented me from losing a pretty substantial amount of money. Now, in order to set up these accounts, you'll simply have to go in, provide your social insurance number, your date of birth, and any other documents that are required to verify your identity, which is probably going to be your ID and stuff like that. And you can have those accounts set up relatively quickly. Now, the big benefit of the FHSA is the tax deductibility. This is the benefit you get from making contributions. So in other words, if you make a contribution of $8,000, you don't have to pay taxes on $8,000 worth of your income. Now, if you're a salaried employee who has source deductions, the great news there is that you'll get a refund in April of the following year, and then you can apply that back into your FHSA, which allows you to grow your down payment significantly faster. This is the same mechanism that was there with the RSP. So to use your TFSA where you don't get a tax deduction rather than the FHSA would be crazy. So if there's a chance that you're going to buy a home in the future and you're a first-time home buyer, as defined by the rules of this product, then the first place that you should be contributing is your FHSA. Now, let's say you've made RSP contributions in the past and you don't have the money to make an FHSA contribution this year. Well, then I would transfer assets from my RSP to my FHSA. Now, this does not mean that you go into your RSP and you sell your investments and then you make a withdrawal and take them and put them into the FHSA, because you'll have a tax implication if you do that. What you have to do is you have to sign up for the FHSA and then instruct the company where you have your FHSA to get your RSP assets transferred to that FHSA. And this works if you're moving it between different institutions. So in other words, let's say you do open that Questrade account and you want to move your accounts from TD. All you have to do is go to Questrade and say, here's my account numbers, here's the information for my RSPs. I want to transfer it from there to here, and they can take care of all of it for you. And there's nothing that TD or BMO or any of the banks can do in order to stop you from doing that. They have to do it. Now, if you do make a transfer from your RSP to your FHSA, you don't get the same tax benefit because you already received that tax benefit previously when you made your RSP contribution. Now, if the only reason you contributed to your RSP was to get the first-time homebuyer savings account benefits, and you don't feel like you want to have an RSP going forward in the future, then you may also want to look at moving your money from your RSP to your FHSA. Now, when it comes to making a withdrawal from your FHSA, the process is actually pretty simple. What you'll do is you'll fill out a form called an RC725. This is just a form requesting the funds because you purchased a home. Now, there's some rules around when you can do this. So you can make a withdrawal up to 30 days after you take possession of a property, or if you've written a contract, as long as it closes before October 1st of the following year, you can make that withdrawal and use the funds for your deposit or your down payment. So this is especially useful if you've bought a new build and it's expected to be completed in the following year. So to sum this whole thing up, you can make $8,000 per year in contributions. Those contributions are tax deductible, and you can make up to $40,000 worth of contributions total. And if both you and your spouse or common law partner don't own a home, you can both make up to $40,000 worth of contributions, albeit individually. You qualify if you're over 18 years old and you're a first-time homebuyer and a resident of Canada. And opening an account is super simple. You just provide your SIN number, your date of birth, and some identifying information to wherever you choose to open that FHSA. And then when you are eventually ready to make your withdrawal, you simply have an accepted contract in place, and then you can fill out the form and request the withdrawal right away, as long as the deal closes before October 1st of the following year, or you can wait and make the withdrawal request up to 30 days after possession of the property. And that's the FHSA in a nutshell. It's pretty simple. It's, like I said, the single best product that the federal government has ever released. And if you're looking at buying a home, make sure it is something you use. And like I said earlier, you want to make sure you have a low volatility trading strategy in place. So make sure you check out this video here in order to easily learn how to do exactly that.